Okay, we're live on Facebook. Welcome to another Wednesday. Today we're going to talk about the techniques for this coming Friday, which is the day after tomorrow. And we have two painting sections. One is in Friday morning, 9 a.m. It's the standard time. The second one is the 8 p.m. in the evening. So I hope that all our members will be able to take the time to join me to the painting hours. One of the two paintings we're going to do on Friday is the leaf. It looks simple, interesting, and some challenges. So I want to show you, I'm going to move this a little bit closer to the camera. A leaf as the main object and the cast shadow. And the cast shadow also is very important shapes. And you see the leaf, the directions falling this direction. And the cast shadow falling into this direction. So create a little bit interesting conflict, but they come together very harmony. It looks really nice. The challenge that would be in watercolor, that you're looking around this leaf. It's not just in the cast shadow. They see that around the outside over here. It has a warm brown color because of the light hitting under the leaf, affecting the surrounding area, and including on this side, right? Looking into the cast shadow, how can we create those very smooth color transition? That is the first challenge. Let's take a look at our second painting reference. It is a beautiful bird. The lighting on the bird is not really strong enough. Judging by looking at the cast shadow, the lighting coming from this direction just only blocking a very unnoticeable cast shadow. But looking at the body of the bird, you don't really see much difference from the color over here to the color over here. It's not really a huge difference if you don't pay close enough attention to looking at their light and shadow value contrast. You may not really represent the roundness of the bird's body. So we need to do some exaggerations when we paint the bird body. Okay, let's start the first challenge. I'm going to just use this calligraphy brush, maybe a little bit too tiny for that purpose. First, I'm going to mix the color inside here. We need to use wet into wet process. I'm going to take the red color. I'm going to look around to see what color is the closest to that. I think right here. And maybe need a little yellow color. So I'm going to take the yellow color. The color is almost, it's already solid. Artist grade watercolor. You can always reuse it anytime. Now I'm going to have a little bit more red and get a little bit blue. Getting this color. And when you see the color, it's very important to see how dark is that color, okay? So that would be, we're going to talk, one of the things that we're going to talk more on Friday when I do a demonstration. Okay, let's take a look and see, squint your eye to see how dark it's supposed to be. And it looks like I probably need a little bit more blue because it's a little bit too warm. So see that? I leave a little gap over here and then painting around. So on Friday, we're going to paint the cast shadow need to be after the leaves is finished. So be prepared, all our members, for the fun. What about the stems of the leaf? Because it's darker than the cast shadow, so we're going to paint it over. Now I'm going to introduce the blue colors in when it's still wet. By the way, the paper is tilted like in about 10-degree angle. So the pinks is coming down naturally. You see that? So you need to be gradually and coming down from the top to the bottom. Here you go. Now keep coming down. Try to have it naturally. The color keep changing. I'm going to add more and more blue color. And that's how the color is going to merge together. I'm going to keep coming down over here and look at the edge. interesting edge. Now I'm gonna add more and more blue color. I'm gonna directly getting the fluorescent blue, and in this case, or you want to have some warmer blue, so which is the Windsor blue red shade. You don't need to be panic. It's just gradually coming down and have the color merge together. And the color's not totally settled yet. Okay, it just keep coming down, it getting dry and slowly, and it will form the final result. Yes.
One person's asking here, what kinds of paint brushes do you use to add shadows behind the subjects or objects of paintings?
I will use just the biggest brush that you can be comfortable with. Like say, in most of the time, I will use this 1-inch flat brush for a cast shadow in this size. Now I'm going to show you that. I'm going to do a little bit faster. Like I say, coming a little bit more exaggerate, just a little more red. I'm going to start it right over here. I can do that. Just use the corner of that. And using a bigger brush is actually you can do faster than use a small brush. Okay, I'm going to show you. Just use that a little bit bigger brush. Here you go. Like on this side. Even make it a little bit smaller. And now I can. You see that how fast that just sometimes you control it, make it a little bit less, a little more. First, I'm going to use the shade, the green shade, blue color. I'm going to put it over here. Because technical issues, now we're going to do the second part. We try two different brushes, and one is just the round brush, the calligraphy brush, and the other one is the flat brush. One is small, one is big. Right? You can both do that really efficiently. You just need more practice. So this one is do it for this side, and this one doing on over here. And the time spent on each shape, this one it will take a lot more time because you need to have a lot more loads of the pins and then keep going down. And this one, it's just very easy to, by using a different edge, a different side, a different portion of this large brush, you can do it much faster. After the area is already dry, what about the cast shadow over here and the bottom over here? It looks a little bit softer and softer and softer on the edges. How can we do that? And then you can do that after it dries. So I'm going to use this larger brush, larger the better, and I just use the water, enough water. Okay, as you can see that there's quite a bit of water. Now I'm going to just put it right on the edge over here. So don't be afraid of it. You see that? Now the edges become much softer. And after it dries, it's a lot easier to control. The timing is very important. Like this edge over here is totally too sharp for us. So now just use the water and soften it. And that's great. And over here, just tap, tap, tap on it, on the edge. Soften it a little bit like that. That's already good enough, right? So you know what to do. A simple changes with water, you can make the edge look different. So you can do the same thing on this side. The value between the lights and the shadow area. So let's take a look at this reference. Now for this one, I'm going to move the my reference on the right side. So I'm going to use this side to do the demonstration. Okay. All right. I'm going to just paint it. Now I'm going to leave the eye over here, right? Like that. And on the bird, the mouth, you can paint it in here too. And on the shoulder here and coming down. I'm not going to finish the whole bird. And that's going to be the demonstration in the Friday painting hour. So on this side. So maybe someone would ask, should you paint the whole area of the bird or add the color? And here I'm going to make the shadow side a little bit darker. So I'm going to actually mix the blue color in it. I have a little bit thicker color. Make the color in it. Now the color much darker than just the red color. Okay. Now I'm going to just add it over here. So it's wet into wet. You see that? Now, because of the wet edge, it actually introduce the transition because wet into wet. So don't be afraid of it. Just try it and be confident. And confidence sometimes is coming from practice, right? So need more practice. And now coming on this side. Now you can see the difference between the light and the shadow is stronger than what the reference give it to us. Now I'm going to have the more blue color in here at the bottom. I'm going to have it a little bit darker. That is the first round. And now you can see the whole bird, it looks like rounded because of the impressions of like an egg shape, right? Like I'm going to do a little bit showing you over here. If you make an egg, like a gray egg, right, like this, you can say, oh, this is the shape. This is like an oval shape. But however, it doesn't really show the roundness. How can we do that, right? Except the bottom over here accumulates some paint. How are we going to make it look more round, like the body of the bird, for example? And careful, like when the wet accumulate at the bottom, it will going to create the run back effect. It kind of coming back to like a mushroom. You don't want to do that. It just lift it up. So come back over here. So you have to have the light and the shadow strong enough, right? So what I'm going to do is just let go all the wetness from this calligraphy brush. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make the light side a little bit lighter. All the feeling kind of is rounded already. So you have the feeling of roundness. And if you're also going to add some darker color into the shadow side, just tap on it. Now to make it even more rounded. So you just get the idea. The idea is how you're going to capture the light and the shadow. Maybe sometime we have to exaggerate it a little bit more. Now we can make a very dark color. You can see that. And paint it around this area. Now here you go, right? Now later you can paint inside the bird's eye. So our member can start doing some practice before Friday. Like that. Now this already kind of dry, so I'm going to add some darker value in here. So a little bit darker. Also at the same time add some little detail into it. Now, here you go. I'm going to add some thicker red color. Here you go. Like that. I'm going to add just the red color now. A little bit lighter and lighter. Connecting to the light side. Now we just get the red color. Just the red color. Here you go. Just open the brush a little bit. Lots of technique we can use. And here you go. And now also going to add some thicker red color into here. Now here you go. Now the next thing, we're gonna open the brush here. Just brush over. Now the color, it will look more merged together. At the same time, it look like the feather feeling. Right. Now after the color dry, it's gonna look lighter and lighter. In that case, we need to come back to it to make the body even look a little bit more rounded, right? So in a few minutes, this is going to dry. And you're going to see whether or not the difference between the light and the shadow is big enough. You keep coming back to looking at the bigger shape, the bigger form. Now at this point, we can use the time for the bird's mouth. Okay, some lighter area, maybe even have some yellow color to it. And then gradually, you can make the bird more and more look like complete. And something over here is a little not supposed to be there. In that case, you can make it lost by light it and erase it by using water. So we're going to do that after it dries.
Somebody's asking, how do you prevent the shadow color from spreading too far when it's wet into wet?
That is the control of the water. How you control the pink spread two big areas. So you have to knowing how thick is the color, especially the second color after you putting in. While we're waiting this to dry, and let me do that demonstration. For example, I'm going to say I already have this color on the paper, and I want to make this color is quite wet, right? This color is quite wet. What about the second color? How I'm going to make the second color control it not spread too much? So if you are going to use a different color, for example, I'm going to use the blue color, for example, right? And I'm going to use lots of wet in here, right? And I'm going to put over here, it will start spreading because the water is pushing away. Now I'm going to show you another way. Now I'm going to just take the blue color, but I'm not going to adding too much water, right? Let's see. I'm just going to tap on it. You see that the spread will be more controlled, more confined into the area that I want it, while the edge of the shape, the second application, soft but not expressing as fast. Does that answer your question? It's all about the control of how much water that you add to the second color when you're gonna apply the second color. That's also important. So when the area close to the dry and you put the second color into it, and depends on the water saturation on the paper and what you're gonna add to the paper. And that's really matter. Just keep practicing. We have lots of a video describing those techniques in the learning center. Just go to the Watercolor Basics library, and then you should be able to find those technique practice. Now this is already dry. We need to add some dark color back to it.
Yong, when you are adding color to a dry area for your adjustments, how can you stop mushrooming occurring?
If it's not totally dry, in this case, like over here, still drying. The demonstration earlier, we just talked about, depends on how much water you add with the paint at the second application into the wet area. And that's just very important. If you have the colors very dry, there's also another name for this technique. It's called dropping in, like a dropping in right over here. Right, it's fading because the second application is really wet actually. So I'm gonna have it a little bit less water. I'm gonna let go lots of those wet. Okay, now let go of that. I'm gonna just take the blue color. I'm going to do that again. Right? You can see that? You can control it. It's not really spread as much like the first one. Right? So after it dry, like over here, there's just dry. We say 95% dry already. And we can come back to work into it. After the area is totally dry, you don't need to worry about the mushroom effect. This is no such thing. Right? Now, let's take a look over here. Yeah, if you have any questions, please keep asking, okay? And I'll try my best to answer your questions. Now I'm gonna take the color and how much water you put into the second layer. It doesn't really matter. It won't affect the first layer because it's already dry. After the color dry, it will be fine. Now I'm gonna make this color like a little bit kind of purple, light purple-ish. Now I'm gonna do also over here. I'm going to talk about the use of the calligraphy brush because the hairs are so long and so soft. You can put the color over here. Now I'm going to clean the brush. Just going to have another layer of wet into wet. Now I'm going to just take the red color. Now I'm going to have it right over here. See that? Another wet into wet on top of the dry layer. Like that. And you can see the brush. Here has a little bit more color. Up here has less and less color. There you go. I have a very smooth transition from dark to light. So after you do the second round, it's always very easy to control this. And now I come back to how we can erase that little red color. The body has already looked very rounded. That's just good. And look at the egg shape over here. That is the texture we don't want. It's just use the brush, especially a soft brush like this one. It's very easy to remove the texture that you don't really want. And for a bigger shape, you better use a bigger brush. Otherwise, it will create more small textures. Like this, even over here, I'm just going to use the 1-inch flat brush. I'm just going to use a bigger brush, have more here. Now, I'm going to just use the corner. Sometimes you just use a part of the brush. That's it. You don't need to always use the brush this big, right? Now, the texture is gone. Now, it looks very pretty and beautiful. You just keep it in mind that you can do it and you trust yourself that you can do it. I'm going to just make the color coming out a little bit and thinner the color, loosen the color, and just use the corner of this brush. Is that the color is gone. Now it's very easy to do the cleanup. Now I can move it in a little bit. Now over here on this side, I still can add some red color to here. As long as you don't damage the paper. Now take a look at the shadows and the light side compared to what the reference provides us. Or you maybe think about, oh, wait a minute, you did not really actually do what the reference look like. The reference provides you a version of the possibility. I'm just showing you, what about I have a stronger lighting, right? Like in a different time of the day, it have a little strong lighting. In that case, it will look like that. So you just pick the best scenario to help you to describe your own story. Our members always can share your progress on our private group. And we can all talk about it. And on Friday, we're going to start from the composition and to see how to paint the entire painting. You'll be able to use the remaining of time and hours we're going to all finish your own painting. We're going to all have fun together. Hope you can make it for our members every Friday. The access links are on your dashboard.